वेलकम बैक लिसनर्स, वेलकम बैक टू रेडियो जिंदगी ऑन 1550 AM। मैं हूं आपके साथ में हीरा। शो लेके आए हैं आपके लिए गुड मॉर्निंग जिंदगी, जिसमें अब हमारे साथ जुड़ते हैं अटॉर्नी शाह पिराली। अटॉर्नी शाह पिराली इज द फाउंडर, प्रेसिडेंट एंड मैनेजिंग अटॉर्नी ऑफ द शाह पिराली लॉ ग्रुप, विच इज headquartered right here in Newark, California. He is a member of the American Immigration or Lawyers Association as well as the State Bar of California. He is a passionate advocate of human rights, civil rights, social action and social services, and he has a strong interest in and knowledge of the political and the legal system here in the US. He formed his law group to work on the causes जिसके बारे में उन्हें सबसे ज्यादा स्ट्रांगली फील होता है. उनका जो लॉ ग्रुप है वो फोकस करता है इमिग्रेशन लॉ पे, स्पेशली विद एन एम्फेसिस ऑन एम्प्लॉयमेंट बेस्ड इमिग्रेशन. They do help the clients all over the US, चाहे वो ईस्ट कोस्ट पे हो चाहे वो वेस्ट कोस्ट पे हो. They can definitely be helped. Shah Pirali Law Group has offices in Newark, in San Francisco, and in Washington, D.C. Listeners, अगर आप उनसे बात करना चाहते हैं, if you'd like to speak to them privately, if you'd like to make an appointment, or simply get more information about them, log on to their website, piralilaw.com. That's PEERALLYLAW.com. और उनका जो ऑफिस है या न्यूयॉर्क में, यू कैन मेक एन अपॉइंटमेंट एंड गो पिक अप द फोन एंड कॉल देम अप ऑन 510-742-5887. That's 510-742-5887. So let's get started. Attorney Shah, good morning. Welcome to the show.
Good morning, Ara. Good morning. Good to hear you again with me. I'm very happy to be doing this show today. I'm so sorry. It's been hectic, and last week we had to do a recorded show, so I apologize to all the listeners. So if you have questions, feel free to reach out to our office, 510-742-5887. And if you need any help on immigration, you can also email us at info@piralilaw.com. And before I start, of course, anything I'm going to tell you today is my opinion. You should not act or refrain to act solely on the information provided. You should contact an attorney if you have any questions. So anything specific on your side, Ara, or should we just jump in?
Before we jump in, I'd like to definitely remind our listeners that if they have any questions, they can call us on the studio number, which is 510-770-1550. Listeners, कोई भी सवाल अगर आपके पास में है, आप हमें अभी फोन कर सकते हैं while we have Attorney Shah on air with us till 10 a.m. So call us right away, 510-770-1550. But if you'd like to discuss it in private with him, call the office number to make an appointment, 510-742-5887. All this information is available on his website, piralilaw.com. Let's get started, Attorney Shah. What are we talking about?
Of course, the big thing that everybody always is asking is what we call the visa bulletin. And from what I see, the September visa bulletin came out, but it's not really a great movement. We were expecting a lot of movement. As I mentioned before, I think on my previous shows, I had to reassess all the calculation. I was calculating everything based on the data, and I was seeing a huge jump for India coming up, but I don't see it anymore, unfortunately. It will not retrogress, but it might retrogress, by the way, but it's not jumping the way we were expecting, because I think that what is factoring in is the recession, and that can have an impact on the visa bulletin. But ultimately, I think it will keep going up a little bit, but it won't go that far like I was hoping, 2017, etc. So unless some kind of miracle, we might be able to get that. So if in case you have to move and you have the possibility to AC-21 to move, talk to me talk to me or talk to your lawyer before you make the move, because unfortunately right now a lot of factors are coming in. We have a lot of things happening, and we don't know how things are going to unfold. We have to watch the visa bulletin in the next 3-4 months and see if we're going to see a higher movement or a retrogression. I'm hoping there will be no retrogression, but the movement is still questionable at this point, so bear with us. Hopefully people will be able to file their adjustment of status and at least stop the basically the bleeding of waiting for so many years. So that was my take on the visa bulletin, and I'm not going to make any kind of forecast at this point because I have to wait to see the trend, especially with the recession coming. Although it seems like unfortunately, many things are happening. We have the
Attorney
coming
Shah,
up. That might
sorry to
yes.
interrupt, but I'm losing
Yes.
you in between. I'm kind of not be able to hear you in between.
Oh, can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
I can hear you for the most part, but just in between I kind of lose you. So if you could just repeat the last two
Okay.
sentences that you said.
Yeah, so I think what I did is that I put the phone a little bit far from me. So what I'm saying is that my expectations are now kind of shattered. Unfortunately, we were hoping a lot of move for India, but I don't see it coming right now. We have to wait and see the next 3 months how the visa bulletin behave. That will give us a trend. But at this point, I don't see great movement coming. Maybe it will go up to like 2015, mid-2015, and after that, we might see it stop there or even a retrogression. So be ready for that. And again, this is just my opinion. So don't go and say, okay, Shah said this, that's what's going to happen, because I don't have a crystal ball. This has nothing to do with really immigration law. It's just based on my experience working with the visa bulletin. So just wanted to let people know about that. Can you hear me properly?
I can hear you better now, yes.
Okay, perfect. Perfect. So we are going to talk a little bit about that. But there's something else that came up for TPS, which is I'm still trying to dissect that. They kind of cut off people who want TPS to file an adjustment of status, but now they are making something else. Like a lot of people, what they did, they took an advance parole and they left. Now the advance is causing problem to them. So there's something that will be published soon on that, but on our website, but be ready for some other issues if you're on TPS, especially people from Nepal and other countries who have been getting TPS. So TPS is a temporary protected status.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of, what it does, it protects you temporarily until something is settled for you, or if you can, that ultimately people were able to file an adjustment of status, maybe through marriage or things like that. But if you entered unlawfully, that means you entered without inspection, EWI, which we don't use that word anymore, but it's people who entered illegally. Things are a little bit tricky for them. So be very careful on that. Talk to your lawyer before you file an adjustment of status in those cases. And before you make any move, small things, by the way, can cost you, right? A lot of people don't realize small things have cost a lot of people big when they, for example, lately we have been seeing the law enforcement going after people who had their H-1B based on those end client letters, which were, according to them, not genuine. And even people who got their H-1B, when they're trying to renew or transfer, they are seeing themselves getting denied and questioned about that. And that's going to be the new trend. And this is something which is very, very common with the USCIS, the enforcement part, ICE, Department of Homeland Security, is that they pick one issue and they will focus on that. For example, for a while they focus on students. Another time they'll focus on those letters. And a lot of companies have been charged of criminal charges, some of their owners, but ultimately the candidates they hired using those letters end up in bigger problems. So if you have any issues similar to that, give us a call. We can do a consultation. 510-742-5887. Any question on those?
No, definitely. That's the number to reach them for consultation, listeners. The number for Shah Pirali Law Group, the office number is 510-742-5887. 510-742-5887. If you're driving and cannot remember the number, remember the name, peerallylaw.com. That's peerallylaw.com. और अभी अगर आप सवाल पूछना चाहते हैं, if you'd like to ask a question to Attorney Shah right now while he's on the show, while we're on air, you can call us right away on 510-770-1550. That's 510-770-1550. We have about 10 more minutes to go, so let's continue, Attorney Shah.
Yes. So, talking about all the issues and enforcement, we are seeing so many things happening on the international front, especially the fight we quote unquote that we're having with China now, with all the issues with Taiwan. Will that affect ultimately immigration? Well, so far it has not really affected the immigration for China, but it might ultimately affect everything in immigration. Plus, if there is some kind of war, hopefully there will be none. The last time we talked about Ukraine, and just after that we had issues there. Now we have Taiwan. Will that affect us on immigration? Probably yes and no. For Chinese dissidents, it might be helpful because I know a lot of people also from China listen to our shows here. So just wanted to mention that it might affect them, well, positively and negatively depending on the situation. So we have to wait and see. Now, having said that, any kind of war now is going to really kind of put more strain on the entire economy, and we might be plunged into a bigger recession, especially right now. I heard that China's economy is not doing very well despite all the things we are hearing, and that will affect all of us, including the banking sector is kind of collapsing. And if that collapses, that means it will affect also the U.S., which ultimately will reflect not only on immigration, but on everything we're going to deal with. But that's, I'm not an expert, but I know enough about finances and economics to know that, yeah, something worse might happen. It might cause a crash and bring us in a deeper recession because the house market also is falling, and that can reflect on us too here in the U.S., which in turn will affect, the entire economy. So all those things are things you have to factor in when we are seeing what's happening on the immigration side. Already I heard companies like, and I don't want to mention some big companies, have stopped hiring, and a lot of also doing layoffs. But at the same time, small startups are hiring, because they're always kind of getting. Now, I hope the stimulus package will help, but it's more like a Band-Aid, and it's not going to really be a permanent solution. There are many things happening around the world now, including climate change, including shortage of food. All those are going to be things that might affect positively or negatively immigration. For sure, we are going to see a huge migration coming to the U.S., but not necessarily from India, but from other countries, and that will also affect the immigration for Indian nationals.
Attorney Shah, sorry to interrupt you over here. Just now you were talking about, you also, when you mentioned you also have a lot of Asian clients who work with you, or probably you're helping them with their immigration. So is it true that there's some kind of skepticism right now going around regarding Asian immigrants? Maybe Republicans are not really in favor of Asian immigrants. Is there something going on around like that?
Yeah, this is something, this is the one thing that always bothers me, right? I hate racist people. I hate communal people. But the world is going towards that. If you look at everywhere in the world, including our countries, it's becoming more and more extremism, right? So what happens is that whenever there are issues, economic issues in a country, or any issues, they tend to blame the immigrants, right? So when they say Asian, it means not only Chinese, but also Indians. they will always put the blame on a group. And right now, we are witnessing something which is people are not noticing. Globalization is going away. I don't know if you noticed that, but we have lived on globalization for the past, I think, 60 years now after the Second World War. And what happens is that under globalization, we kind of, it's America which invented it actually, kind of. And what we did, we kind of let some other countries produce certain things, and we don't have to worry about it. What it did is just like make the cost lower. Like, for example, China produced most of the manufacturing sector, and they produced most of the goods, but and that allowed Americans to enjoy cheaper stuff, right? But what is happening now is if we are, I would say, deglobalization of the situation, what would happen, you're going to see a lot of businesses moving back to the U.S. It's already happening, by the way. And if it does, it will be good for immigrants because they will need people with technical know-how, et cetera, et cetera. But it also will create a sense, it's creating a sense of nationalism that can ultimately make people more and more feel insecure with immigrants. And we are seeing that already. We are seeing people shooting this one, the other one going after this one. It's like a big, we are in a big mess, let's admit it. Now the question is, how do we ride this? How do we serve this? Will immigration be part of that? I think yes, because remember, the replacement, what we call the birth rate in the U.S. is not high. Right. It's actually not high anywhere right now. Probably only India has the highest birth rate. The rest of the world is going negative. And when that happens, there will be a shortage of labor. And that's one thing which America has been very smart. We have been accepting immigrants. And that will also make immigration hopefully easier because there will be a need of labor, of people to work. But all those things happening around the world right now, you have to put all of them in a context, but at the same time, you have to factor them in what is going to happen next. And because of that, I expect that they might make things a little bit easier for immigrants, but unfortunately, it might be selective immigration, right? So India, hopefully, they will make more chances for Indian engineers, making it easier for them. And now we have all those bills that was passed by Biden on those basically what we call ecological global warming issues, etc., including solar technology and stuff like that. That might also create more jobs in that sector, which means they will need more engineers, more technical know-how, and all the engineers will know, not all, most of them come from India and Pakistan and China. So let's see how things unfold, but the next 3 months is going to be decisive. So watch out for this. A lot of things are going to happen in the immigration front. Biden is planning to probably there is a plan to increase the numbers of H-1B, etc. Let's see how it works. But until then, we cannot pronounce. I don't think we have much time today. So I just wanted to say thank you for listening. We talk about a lot of things, including globalization. But next week we'll probably talk more about family petitions. If you need help, anything immigration, feel free to call 510-742-5887. Anything I told you today is my opinion. You should not act or refrain to act solely on the information provided. You should contact question. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/SharpRallyLaw. I try to put my best to put as much information there. And also those radio shows, if you miss them, we will upload them there, hopefully.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye. I'll see you next week.
Thank you, Attorney Shah. Thank you very much for being on air with us. And thank you, listeners, for tuning in. Remember, you can call them on 510-742-5887 or log on to purallylaw.com. Stay tuned.